Hi everyone. My name is Monica Hogan. I'm a senior here at Duke. I'm a double major in biology and dance, and I'm doing a markets management certificate. We're really excited you guys are here asking questions about the arts and humanities with us tonight. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. I grew up there my whole life. I was always a dancer, and dance was very important to me when I was looking at colleges, which is actually why I came to Duke, and so I've been very involved in the arts here. I'm in a student dance group, and then with the dance major I also do a lot of coursework and performances through that as well. I love Duke, and I'm very excited to answer any of your questions, so don't hold back.
Hey guys, my name's David Oberst. I'm also a senior here. I'm an electrical and computer engineering major and a music minor. I'm from a small town in South Carolina called Georgetown. Music has always been a huge part of my life. I studied piano since about kindergarten or first grade, and also briefly dabbled with with violin and trumpet. And so I've really loved the music environment here at Duke. And also done a ton of stuff with musical theater with the student-run musical theater group Hoof and Horn. So excited to talk to you about whatever I can answer.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name's Sharon, and I'm a junior, rising senior. I'm from Hong Kong originally, and I am a biology art history double major with a certificate in marine sciences. So I do a lot of work here at the Nasher. So with our museum, I'm a gallery guide there. I intern there. I'm also on the student advisory board for that. So I really like kind of hanging out in the museum. I'm also on our student union's visual arts committee. I'm the chair for it next year. So if you have any questions about any kind of more visual art related things, I'd be more than happy to answer them as well. And I love Duke. You guys should all come. I think it's awesome. I've had a great time here so far. So.
All right. So one of our first questions asks about our favorite performance or event that we've participated in, which that's very hard to choose, actually. One that comes to mind for me is an event called Awaz that happens every year. I grew up in high school dancing like ballet and jazz and your standard kind of studio dance styles, but I came to Duke and I joined a multicultural dance group. So Awaz was my first cultural performance. We learned classical Indian dance and Bhangra and Bollywood, and it's South Asian Student Association's big production of the year. And it's very, very high energy and very fun and just a totally different style than anything I had done before coming to Duke. So I got a little taste of a different cultural dance style, and also being involved in Awaz, I got to see what all these other student groups do, and it's really, really fun.
I can go next. Probably my favorite performance that I've done in my 4 years was our recent production of Ragtime, which was a collaboration between the theater department, the music department, and the dance department. Monica was also involved in it. And just from a performance standpoint, what I loved about it the most was that we kind of approached the musical before we even started rehearsing from a very academic standpoint. We learned about ragtime as a musical genre and how the people moved and the history behind what we were performing, and we read the book behind it before we even looked at the script. And all these things kind of came together, and I just really appreciated how deep we went into it before we even started putting the music or the blocking into it. And even once we did that, it was just really incredible. We had an amazing set, a huge cast. There were over 100 people involved in the production total, and it was just a really, really great, memorable experience for me. So it was a good last musical for me to end my career here on.
Well, and last but not least, I guess for me, of course, it would be kind of an arty event. So the Student Advisory Board I'm on actually organizes big kind of party events to encourage people to go to the museum. So currently on show at the National Museum of Art, we have an Alexander Calder show. So with that, we had a party themed classic Hollywood, which is kind of random for the theme, but it actually was extremely well attended. We had 1,500 people attend, and it was just really great to encourage students to go to the museum. So for me personally, that was the best event of the year.
Okay, the next question we have is from Andrew Jacobs, who says, I'm interested in double majoring in theater and public policy. I'm debating between going to Duke and another school with a more famous theater department. What would be the advantage of going to Duke instead? So just speaking from my experience with the theater department, what I really love, I can't say anything about other theater departments because I've only had the experience with this one, but first of all, because the amount of people that do theater here is a little bit smaller, you actually have a huge amount of interaction with the faculty here. All of the faculty do things besides just teaching. My intro to acting professor is the artistic director for a local theater called Man Bites Dog. We have people who have huge productions with set design. They light design for lots of different productions, and it's just the sort of thing that is really interesting because you have all these people that are really experts in their fields, and then you get to kind of interact with them and kind of share some of their genius. And so all the classes I've had have been at the point where I've felt like I've had a really meaningful interactions with them. So I don't know if anyone wants to add anything to that. Yeah? So
I think you covered it pretty well.
okay, cool. So
So David, our next question is about music, which you might be the best one to answer that as well.
Okay, cool. This question is coming from Iono Birkins, who says, what kind of music performance opportunities are available for non-music majors? So actually, I'm not a music major, so I can speak to that pretty well. I am a minor, but I think actually there is no performance group that I know of on campus that is exclusive to majors or minors. So for example, you've got all of these chamber groups that, whether the Wind Symphony or the Duke Orchestra or the Collegium, there's a bunch of vocal groups, be that departmental, such as the chorale or vespers or chapel choir, tons of things like that. And then also on the student-run group, there's tons of different groups on that front too. So you've got all the a cappella groups. I think there's 8 or 9 student-run a cappella groups on campus. There's really no limit to what you can be involved in, and the amount of student initiative here is pretty impressive on that front, I think, too. Okay, the next question is theater-related as well, so I'll just take that one. So this one says, from Tiana Horn, do you have to be a theater major to be a part of theater productions? Also not true. I'm an electrical and computer engineer, and probably, although I do love theater and I do love music, I am kind of a huge nerd as well, and so I love computers and computer architecture. So no, you can be whatever you want and be involved in theater, whether that be on stage or behind the scenes.
Okay, so our next question is from Leslie Nero, and she asks, are there opportunities for people to learn other instruments and or dance outside of classes? Which is a great question, and the answer for that is absolutely. I can speak better in terms of the dancing than I can for the instrumental music, but I know that there are opportunities for instrumental music. And from my experience, most organizations are very, very open to student involvement, whether or not you're actually enrolled in a course. So for dance, in my particular experience, there are tons and tons of dance groups on campus which are not affiliated with courses at all. And you can have lots of experience starting, you can have no experience starting. There's a wide range of types of groups, and they cater to lots of different styles. And most of these groups also host regular workshops and events that actually encourage new people to come out and take a class and try something new. it's almost hard. There's so much to pick from, actually, going on campus in terms of workshops and events that you can go to related to dance, in my experience. And I know with music, we have lots and lots of visiting artists, and we have lots of ensembles on campus that sometimes are courses, like the Wind Symphony, but they can also engage students who aren't necessarily in a course, or people from the community even, I know, sometimes play instruments with these organizations.
Okay, and so the next question we have is from Rafi Garn again, and the question is, are the music facilities open for practice at any time regardless of your major? Although I am not really involved in the music scene, I'm actually part of this new initiative called Do Arts, which is kind of pretty much all the art-related organizations are getting together kind of to self-organize and create something so that we can all be organized, know each other's schedules, know when the events are happening. So it is a possibility for you to use certain music spaces, but I do know that you need to probably book in advance. Space is limited sometimes, but it's definitely a possibility, and I'm sure if you speak with someone who's within that area that they would be more than happy to help you with that.
Yeah, just to add to that, one of my favorite things about living on the East freshman year was being close to the music building, and I'll be working on a problem set late, and it gets to be like midnight or 12:30, and I need a break, and I would just go into Biddle and play the piano, and Biddle is the music building here. And so there's probably 12 or 14 practice rooms that are always open for piano and voice. And then there's other facilities like organ practice rooms, percussion, things like that that you can get card access to. So lots of good opportunities.
Well, and so the next question's from Jonathan Liu regarding whether there are opportunities for amateur dabbling kind of musicians or artists. So there are, again, lots of opportunities possible. You can join lots of music groups, as David earlier, like he mentioned, a cappella groups or different instrumental groups. So really a lot of them are very open to people who are not necessarily, extremely professional level at a certain instrument or a certain type of art form, but just you come to college and you really want to try something new. They're more than open to having people like that, and they're really great and really accommodating about introducing you to maybe something that you never really thought you'd try before coming to college. So that definitely, there are tons of opportunities for that. We have really a lot of different clubs, a lot of different instrumental groups that would have those opportunities.
Another question from Leslie Nero. We have, are there practice rooms in the dorms? In all of the freshman dorms, there is a piano in each of the dorms, and in some cases there's study rooms that can normally double as sort of a practice room. But as far as dedicated practice rooms, there aren't in the dorms. But everyone, at least first year, has access, or all the students have it, but you even have the benefit of being, when you're a first-year student, very close to the music building, if that's more of your neck of the woods. So.
Okay, our next question is from Roma, and it says, I'm looking to do a chemistry major and possibly a philosophy minor. I like the idea of a liberal arts education since I'm still exploring what I want to do. How does Duke compare to liberal arts school in terms of being able to major in a science and study humanities as well? This is a wonderful question. This is actually the primary reason I picked Duke in the first place. I actually started as a biomedical engineer my freshman year, but as a dancer I was very interested in minoring or potentially majoring in dance. And though my major has switched to biology, I'm still very involved, obviously, in science. But my second major is in dance. And one of the things that was really important to me and that I loved about Duke was that Duke really does make it possible for you to work in multiple disciplines, and you can, it's actually it's encouraged. And I think that one of the wonderful things about Duke is that they like for you to be involved in multiple passions, and I think that working in things that exercise different parts of your brain, like your right and your left brain, doing this science and maybe something in arts or another liberal arts course. It really just, it helps you as a student, just exposes you to different types of courses, different types of professors, and yeah, it's absolutely possible, and I know plenty of Duke students who are engineers and music majors and public policy majors and do creative writing. So there's almost every combination you could possibly think of.
Yeah, just to add to that, so I also study computer engineering and music, and that's kind of what I loved about Duke too, is that you don't necessarily have to pick. You can really do everything that you really love. I was just at a departmental dinner for the music department last night, and they honored all their minors and their majors, and there were just as many people who were, some people were just studying music, but there were perhaps even more people who were music majors but also biology and pre-med, or there were people who were music majors and philosophy. And I think that's what was so interesting, and maybe what defines a lot about Duke's culture is that there are people, we're very passionate people, but often we're passionate about a lot of different things, and Duke helps us be passionate about all of those simultaneously while keeping our heads straight.
Yeah, and well, just to add to that, I think all three of us are pretty good examples of how it's possible to bridge the gap between the sciences and the humanities. It was also a reason why I chose Duke initially, because obviously between marine bio and art history, there are really not that many schools that have both. So it was really a great choice, I think, for me, and I really enjoy it so far. You really meet very different people in your different classes. The style is extremely different in humanities. Obviously, it's usually more writing-based. In the sciences, it's more, kind of technical, and you do labs and stuff. So I really enjoy kind of integrating the two. And another example is my roommate's actually pre-med and an Arabic major. So, I mean, there are tons of people out there that do really different majors and have a great time. So it's totally possible. And I would, if that's something that you're really interested in, I would really encourage you to do it.
So the next question here is from Leslie. It says, is it possible to get involved in music activities and everything else? How do people handle the workload, or is there one? So I think one thing that also kind of defines Duke students, because we're so very passionate about a lot of different things, is that we often are very involved in many different organizations and very, a lot of extracurriculars, but we also are very passionate about our schoolwork. And so I would say it's definitely possible to manage all of that. It's just a matter of kind of sitting down and seeing what's important to you. Don't get me wrong. I think a lot of people, come in from high school and they may have done, 12 or 14 different clubs, and, that's not going to probably be the kind of thing you can do here. But you can definitely pick a couple of things that you really like that are, extracurricular, and manage those with ease with your coursework. Just speaking from theater, oftentimes I would have rehearsal, and Monica can say the same thing too with all of her rehearsals. Sometimes you'll have, 3 or 4 nights of rehearsal that you also have to manage with your schoolwork, and it's just the sort of thing that you have to have priorities, but you can definitely make it happen, and I think that's what I love about Duke, is that it lets me do all of that.
Okay, so our next question is also from Leslie. It says, what do you think is the coolest part about the arts at Duke? And that's hard to pick, but one thing that amazes me about Duke students is how multifaceted and just how talented they are. And everyone works very hard and is very busy, but I think one of the coolest things is that so many students still keep the arts as a priority, and really dedicate the time and energy and really want to be involved in arts on campus. And sort of a testament to that is the fact that we've just started a new umbrella organization called Do Arts, which is going to basically sort of help facilitate and sort of encompass all arts groups on campus. And within that umbrella organization, there are 6, I believe, councils underneath for all the different types of arts disciplines. The one that I've been most involved in was particularly with the Dance Council, which encompasses all of the student dance groups on campus, but there's also a council for like visual artists, for instrumental music, for a cappella groups, pretty much everything you can think of. And this organization is supposed to help facilitate collaboration and communication and just sort of foster the arts on Duke's campus. And I think it's awesome that so many Duke students have come together and sort of made that possible, and are sort of, you know, standing together to show the rest of campus just how important the arts are.
And just to speak to that again, I mentioned earlier as well, Do Arts. I think it's a really great initiative. It's been a long time coming, and I'm really excited. I'm actually on the executive board for that next year, so I think I'm really excited kind of just to increase collaborations between the different art groups as well, because as you can see, Monica's in dance, you know, David's in theater, and I'm in arts, and, you know, it's always been a little more separated, but now it's just nice to have that dialogue between the groups so we all know what's going on, and we can support each other, and so it's going to be a really exciting year next year. And so the next question is also from Leslie, and your question was whether it was possible to triple major at Duke. And actually it isn't, so we do have a limit on how many things you can do, unfortunately, which I know it makes you have to choose. But you can only double major and minor, so you can only have 3 things to begin with. But you can only have 2 majors, so you could do a double major and a certificate, a double major and a minor, a major and 2 minors, so it's any combination except you can't have 3 majors. So.
Okay, so one of our next questions is about one of our favorite faculty members, which is a great question for me. I actually just got back from flunching with one of the ballet professors that I've had for my past 4 years here at Duke, Julie Walters. So a flunch, for those of you who haven't done all of your Duke research yet, is essentially getting a meal with faculty. You get 2 flunches per semester on your Duke card, and essentially it's already paid for. And it encourages you to get together with your professors outside of the classroom and really develop relationships with them. So at the end of this semester, one of my ballet classes invited our ballet professor to flunch with us. And it's just a great opportunity to talk with them outside of the classroom and talk about, you know, things other than your homework and your coursework and that kind of thing. So Julie is one of my favorite professors. I've had her for 4 years, and she's been wonderful, and she just really fosters great artistry, and she understands the life of a Duke student as well, and the fact that we are busy with so many things. And so having a professor who you're close with like that and who inspires you to be a better artist, I think is a very cool thing, and it's awesome that Duke helps you to spend more time with them outside of the classroom.
Okay, so I'll go next, I guess. My favorite faculty member by far is Dr. Anthony Kelly. I've had a 4-year kind of experience with him starting from freshman fall. I kind of on a whim just took a class in Introduction to Music Theory. I knew nothing about music theory. I didn't take the AP. I was like, well, I play piano. This sounds interesting. And he really inspired me to kind of pursue it as a new love because he was so passionate about teaching it. And this class was 4 times a week at 8:30, and so that seems like very late for high school students, but it ends up being a little earlier when you're in college. And so, but I really loved getting up for that class every single day because he was so passionate about it. And so I was able to, you know, have several classes with him, and then as a result of, you know, all of his work and all of his teaching, he actually kind of inspired me to work more with Hoof and Horn, the theater group here, as a music director, because that's actually the same thing he did when he was an undergrad. So, and he music directed me in our final performance of Ragtime. So, he's been a really inspiring source of leadership and creativity for me.
Well, and for me, my professor is actually in the marine sciences, so I spent a semester, I guess you could say, abroad. It was at the Marine Lab, which is on the coast of North Carolina, and my professor, Dave Johnston, was really, really great. He's been really supportive. He advises my research, which will be my senior thesis, and it's just the class sizes are extremely small. You get to go actually do field work while you're taking classes, so we got to see dolphins, and he's just been really supportive. So he actually helped me get a research gig over spring break, so I went to Hawaii for a week to help with some research, and that was because he had kind of connections with people there, and they needed help, so he hooked me up and helped me there. I'm also going to Australia this summer because one of his researcher friends needed some help, so it's kind of nice that, professors are also there to support you and help you out with different opportunities, let you know what's there, and kind of push you to try different things. And it's also really nice. Over the summer, I took a class with him, and his family was away, and so he was just at home, so he invited us, my entire class, to his house, and he cooked dinner for us, and we watched Whale Wars together. So, I mean, Duke professors are awesome, and they're really personable, and they really love talking to students and just getting to know you on a personal level. So.
Okay, so the next question is, how do you get involved in music ensembles like the marching band, pep band, wind symphony, etc.? And so the answer to that is most of the time during orientation week or a couple of weeks afterwards, most of the departmental ensembles will have auditions or sign-ups or some sort of a lot of information sessions, even if you're not sure, in those first couple of weeks that you can kind of find out. Most of the time it's pretty evident. You'll have stuff in your orientation books about them. But if you really want to keep tabs on those in particular, you can check out the music department's Facebook page. It's just facebook.com/music@Duke, or their actual page, which is just music.duke.edu. And both of those are updated very frequently with all the details. But very simple to get involved. If you're passionate about something, I promise you they'll find a place for you.
All right, so our next question, scrolling up to, all right, is also from Leslie. It says, what sorts of cultural opportunities are there at Duke? Infinite, almost. There are tons of cultural opportunities at Duke. As I mentioned, I'm a part of a multicultural student dance group. And as a part of that, we participate in a lot of the cultural events that happen around campus. AWAS, as I mentioned earlier, is a South Asian Student Association's annual event, and it is huge. It sells out our biggest auditorium on campus 2 nights in a row, and it's just really, really fun. They order a huge dinner before, and it's a big event on campus. Later in the second semester, we have what's called LNY for Lunar New Year, which is our Asian Student Association's big event, and it's very similar. It's a big production, and they have a big dinner and a big after party, and it's very, very fun. There are also events called like Spring International, which that brings together like all these different cultural groups on campus. They'll set up booths and things and sort of create a big like festival party on the plaza. So there'll be a stage and groups will perform, and there's food, and there are booths where you can shop around, and everyone's out on the plaza, and it's really cool to see all of these different groups come out and kind of come together to create a big event like that.
Yeah, and speaking to that as well, being an international student, we all have kind of different student associations, and we collaborate a lot, but we're not only exclusive to people who are actually from that country. So, for instance, I'm in the Hong Kong Students Association, but there are lots of people who, might have family that are from Hong Kong at some point, and they don't even speak Chinese, but it doesn't matter because it's just kind of to get to know each other better. And so there are lots of opportunities like that, and we do participate in events that are that are like what Monica just said for international. There's also one in the fall called Fall Food Fest, and it's just a lot of different groups bringing different cultures to Duke, and so that we can all learn about it.
And as Sharon was talking about global opportunities at Duke, I actually, last summer, I had the opportunity to travel to China for a month. I was with a group of students called the Duke University Dancers, and we were asked to go to China to perform for the University Olympics opening ceremonies. And so we actually, a group of 12 students, we put together a showcase ourselves. It was about an hour-and-a-half performance, and we took this to China. We performed in the opening ceremonies, which was just an incredible experience, a huge stage, and people from all over the world were there. And then the rest of the month we actually toured through 12 cities in China performing this production. And it was unreal. It was such an out-of-this-world opportunity, and we met all kinds of people. We were in some big cities, some small towns. We went through one town where we actually took an evening hip-hop class, and almost nobody spoke any English, but we all kind of were communicating through dance and just kind of through sharing that experience, and made a lot of really cool friends, and it was just awesome to kind of take a full month and be immersed somewhere completely different in the arts, and to get to do that through Duke.
Yeah, and for me, I actually just came back from a semester abroad. So this past fall, I was in Paris for a semester doing art history, which was awesome. I lived with a host family, and actually my host family lived like 3 blocks away from the Musée d'Orsay, so that's one of the biggest modern art museums in the world. And so it was really awesome to be able to be like, oh, well, I have an hour today. I'm just going to head on over. Don't have to pay anything. So it was a really great experience, especially for me. It was like my dream come true. I could really go to all these museums for free because I was an art history student. And I really learned a lot from that. And, I mean, where else better to do art, visual arts at least, than Paris, where it's pretty much the art capital of the world, one of. So I really had a great time there, and being able to see the work firsthand definitely made a huge difference. And of course, I took classes there as well, and the classes were great, and professors really made use of the resources that were available in the city. They were really well aware that, obviously if you're taking a class in Renaissance art, even though we're not in Italy, there's still a lot of stuff around Paris that's available, so we did really use that, and I really enjoyed it. I learned a lot, and it was a great experience.
Yeah, just to add to that briefly, I got to travel to South Africa 2 summers ago, actually during the World Cup, which was really cool. It was Duke funded primarily for volunteering and teaching related to my engineering curriculum, but also kind of unexpectedly ran into a music career while I was there. Turns out the area I was in, Cape Town, had a really cool music scene, got involved, went to a lot of different little jazz clubs, and eventually, there was a night that there was like an open mic night, and I got to play piano at this one place, and started booking gigs. This guy came up to me. He's like, "We want to, record you." And so anyway, it was really cool just being able to be immersed in this entirely different culture and kind of learn about myself as a musician while kind of also growing as a person at the same time. So.
All right, so our next question is about whether it's possible to do research in the arts and not just things like science, which you picked the opportune time to ask. We're all just finishing up our final research projects for the semester. I actually did a senior thesis project researching integrating technology with dance, so it was an arts-focused project, and I received research support grants from the university. I got to work with a lot of cool technology and actually put on a production this semester. And then there's an event called Visible Thinking that happens every year where people doing research on campus get to put together a poster presentation or an oral presentation and actually present that and invite their friends and invite their other professors and kind of show the university what they've been working on. And that happened last week, and I presented. It's called Visible Thinking. And it's so cool to see all of the different projects that people have been working on. There's research in everything you can imagine, from the arts to science to cultural anthropology to English to really anything. And there are a lot of cool projects and research going on at Duke, so it's absolutely possible to research in the arts, and I would definitely encourage it.
Yeah, just to add to that, last year I actually got to do an independent study that kind of combined my love for engineering but also with theater. Hoof and Horn, our student theater group, was putting on a production of Aida, which is this big Egyptian musical. It's like Disney and Elton John, and very cool. And essentially what we wanted to do, we actually had a bunch of people that were interested in exploring theatrical set design. And so we kind of talked to our resident set designer, who was really, really cool and very into the project, about making automated set pieces and kind of just learning as much as we can about set design in this one semester. And so we basically got to do this really cool engineering project that was just as much about the mechanical and electrical things that we were applying as it was about the artistic kind of aspects of it, in terms of what does this mean as performance, and how does a set relating to the performers, what does that mean, and what has it meant, and what will it mean? And so I really enjoyed that and thought it's really interesting that there were so many people at Duke passionate about letting us do that sort of collaboration.
Okay, so our next question is asking about our peers and what kinds of talent we work with. And one of the things that's been really cool about Duke in my experience is just kind of the opportunities to collaborate. I know last year, I was presenting a choreographic work for the dance program's main stage concert, but I was interested in having original music, and I actually collaborated with a senior music major at Duke who wrote an original piece and then had Duke students actually play the music, and they recorded it. So it was really cool to put a work out there that was completely made by Duke students, from the instruments to the composition to the choreography to the dancers themselves. And also I've worked with some film students on campus, people who work in experimental film and documentary studies. They've been involved with some of the dance films and kind of things that I've done, which has been very cool to kind of bring all of these different talented people together.
Well, and I mean, from my perspective in the visual arts, there's lots of talents. I mean, even within that field, we have tons. We have a Duke Arts Festival in the fall, so students do have the opportunity to submit work that will be exhibited during Parents Weekend, which is really exciting. And there are also a lot of times people who might be interested in buying certain works. So I have several friends who are awesome painters, awesome printmakers, and they've had work sold, and it's a great opportunity to kind of be exposed to all different kinds of ways that the world, how the visual arts scene works. It's also nice in terms of just being able, the Nasher, for instance, the museum has certain exhibitions going on sometimes, and they'll have visiting artists who will interact with students and kind of help us develop our talents as well. So there are really many different ways to explore what you're interested in and to work with extremely talented people at Duke.
Okay, so we have another question about the facilities on campus and the kinds of spaces that we work in and perform in. For dance in particular, the main studio that we rehearse in is called the Arc, and it's very cool. It has a lot of neat history to it. It actually used to be a gymnasium, and it used to be where Duke basketball played, and I know at one point there was a bowling alley in the Arc. So it has a lot of history, but it's also where the American Dance Festival hosts their classes in the summers, which means that a lot of really cool artists and people have come and taught classes and performed in that space. So it's cool that we get to be in there and rehearse every day. It's a huge, beautiful building, really tall, lofted ceilings. And then for our actual performances, we perform on the Reynolds stage, which is literally one of the top-notch dance performance stages I have ever seen. Actually, the performance we just finished this past weekend, we had a lighting designer who works on Broadway shows up in New York, and he came and did the lighting design for our show. And he said Reynolds is one of his favorite theaters to work in because it is made for professional dance. And he said we are very, very blessed with the facilities we have here.
Yeah, just to add to that, from the theater perspective, we also share space a lot of times with other performing arts groups like the dance department. Speaking from the student-run side of things, Hoof and Horn has been around for about 75 years, and so we actually have our own dedicated space over on East Campus in the Bivens building, which is has a lot of history on it. It's kind of a cool little space, have lots of little posters all over the walls. When we kind of get to actual performance, there's a theater studies edition at the back of the BC that has a rehearsal studio and lots of meeting places. And then we also use Reynolds in the spring. And we also use the Schaefer Theater for our fall and winter shows, which is also really great. It's sort of a black box. It's very versatile, great kind of in a diamond configuration for sort of more intimate shows, and then can kind of be flipped around for larger dancey kind of shows. Monica and I did a show called Chess in there last year, actually. So definitely lots of varied spaces, which is kind of interesting because depending on kind of what your vision is, there's lots of different places it might fit and kind of complement your work better.
Well, and on that note, also, we're actually, for next year, I'm really excited about this as well. We're opening a new space. Currently, we haven't really officially named it yet, but we kind of go by Arts Warehouse. It's a completely new space. It's huge, and there's going to be not only a dance space, there's also going to be a dance theater space, depending on demand. There's also a huge art studio, which I'm personally am super excited about, so it's nice to kind of alleviate the stress of having to figure out where you can go. That place is always open to students, and in terms of the studio, it's just a great resource to have because, currently if you're not really taking an art class, it's a little bit difficult to find a spot to work in, so we will be supplying and stocking it. So even if you're not an artist, feel free to drop by. We'll have great, stuff for you ready, so all you have to do is just try it out. So really exciting, so you guys should definitely come check it out.
All right, so I think this is our last question for tonight, which is why did we choose Duke over other options and why, and what would we tell prospective students about attending Duke? And for me personally, I think the biggest reason I chose Duke was the fact that you really can pursue everything that you want to here, and that can be very difficult at other universities. For me in particular with the dance, it can be very difficult at other universities to major in dance and pursue other rigorous academics. They usually will want you to choose one or the other because they expect you to be in rehearsals and be in all of those kinds of things, which you are expected to do that here, but they make it possible for you to do both. And it's a good thing if you do both. And it actually opens up new opportunities and things like my thesis project, working with dance and technology. I had the opportunity to work with engineers and visual artists and all kinds of students. And being at a university like Duke that really values all of its academics and its arts and its humanities and its sciences, everything is important here, and it really fosters a collaborative community where people come together and teach each other things and work together, which I thought was really important. And for students who are planning to come here or are hoping to come here, Duke is full of wonderful resources. So when you're here, just take advantage of those. There are all kinds of opportunities, and you really should kind of keep on the lookout and keep involved, because 4 years, I can tell you in my experience, go really, really fast. And this is a very magical place, and the networks and the people you meet here are incredible. So really just make the most of the 4 years and don't feel like you have to give up any of your passions.
Yeah, that was great, Monica. I just want to add a little bit to that. I guess first, I definitely agree with Monica that being able to do both and do everything that you love here was a huge reason for me choosing Duke as well. Another thing that really kind of struck me when I visited here, there's not a lot of ways to express this other than it just felt home. I had visited a lot of different colleges and was looking, at anywhere in the world you could just name. I was looking at just where I would fit in, and the people I talked to and the places I visited, I just saw myself here. And I think what really inspires me and affirms that I made the right choice was that everyone around me just challenges me to do more. Everyone around, I have this thing about Duke students that everyone has something amazing about them that they might not share with you, but everyone is really amazing in a couple of ways or a million ways. And so being surrounded by so many amazing, passionate people challenges you to step out of your box and be even more ambitious and more passionate about the things that you really care about too.
Well, and finally, from my perspective, again, I already said initially a little bit, finding a school that has marine biology and art history is a big challenge. So I really appreciated that Duke had its own museum, and they're really forward-thinking and focused on contemporary art. So it's really great that I have the opportunity to work at a museum and be able to have the experience of working under curators, working with kids who come for tours, and just learning about all the different things that are involved, so that it's a potential career that I'm looking into, and just being able to accumulate that experience is really great. So I love Duke. It's been really great so far, and I can't believe I'm not a senior, thank God. But I can't believe it's going to be my last year soon, so I'm going to make the most out of it, definitely.
All right. Well, I think that is everything, all of our questions for tonight. Thank you so much for chatting with us. We enjoyed it, and we hope to see you at Duke. Bye.
See you soon.
See you next year.